Hello, it's Ijoma Ude. I just Parks Maid. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time stopping by, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for stopping. I'm going to be doing a video on this dress, a tutorial on this dress with a slit, this free dress with a slit and this net patch. So let's get started. I'll be working with a 5 yards fabric. It's actually a full Ankara, a less than half yard of lace, and then 3 yards of this velvet bias, 1 inch velvet bias. Now I couldn't fold it this way, so I ended up splitting the fabric into the desired length I want to work with, and then I had all my center, front and back opened. Now why? That's because the front has a slit and then the back has a zipper. So let's get straight to it. So I went ahead to mark 1.5 inch. So you can use 1 inch for both your zipper allowance and then 1 inch for both your front seam allowance. That's where your slit line is going to be. So it's optional. So after drawing the 1.5 inch, I went ahead and marked out a straight line to connect all the lines together. Then I went ahead to mark my shoulder. I came down by 1 inch as usual, and then I'm working with a neck width of 2.5 inches. Now, why am I using 2.5 inches? That's because I noticed when I use 3 inches, when I turn with my facing, it still goes deeper. Okay, so the next thing I did was came down by my chest point, and then now I'm going down by my waistline. So the client actually is very shapy. The client I'm working with, she has a very nice shape, small waist and big hips. I think her hips is about 51 inches, and then her waist is about 34 inches, yes, and her bust is 42 inches. Okay, now after that I'll be going down from my waistline down to my hip line and then connecting a line across. When all of that is done, I'll go ahead and mark out my bust divided by 4. I'm working with an allowance of 1.5 inches because this dress is not a boo-boo gown. It's a kaftan, yes, but it's not a big kaftan. It's a bit fitted, so I'll be using 1.5 inch allowance. Though on the waist I added a little to her waist because I'm going to be putting pockets so that it will not be too tight around the pocket area. So instead of using 8.5 for her waist, I used 9.5 and still added my 1.5 inch allowance. Now note that when I'm sewing this, I'm still going to be sewing in by 1.5 inch allowance. So you can go ahead and do 2 inches allowance, then sewing by 1 inch. Is optional, okay? But my client was really specific on the fitness, that she wanted it to be fitted. So after all of that is done, I went ahead to take what I had on my hip line and I put it down on the hem line. Yes, the hem line. So I'm just going to be connecting it all the way, just like you do your straight skirt, your normal straight gown. That's exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so I hope you're following. Now, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe, and if you are enjoying this video up until this point, please do well to give me a thumbs up, as it will mean a lot to me. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and mark where my notch will be for my pockets, and that's what I did there. I'm using a length of 7 inches for my pocket width. Okay, and then when that is done, I'll go ahead and cut. Now don't forget that after marking your pocket length allowance, I'm going to give it a notch so that I don't lose that line. So that was what I did there. Then I'll go ahead and cut all the way down. Okay, so after cutting all my body parts, I'm going to go ahead and cut my neck width out and my shoulder slope out. And yeah, this is all ready. So now I'm going to also remember our front neck is going to be deeper than the back neck. So I'm going to go ahead and take in my front neck and my back neck. Okay, and when all of that is done, I'm going to also give this a nudge so that I can know which is which. Okay, so now when I'm done with my back, I'll first cut off my back neck, because the back neck is higher than the front neck. So when I cut it out, I'm going to separate my fabric. This is folded into 4, so I have to remove the other 2 parts and then go ahead and deepen my front neck. Now, for some people, for my client, she likes her neck really tight up. Yes, her high neck, she likes it high up. Though I think at the end of this sewing, I deepened the neck a bit because I was just afraid of it being choking on her neck. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut my pocket. Now remember, we marked 7 inches width for our pocket. So I'm going to go ahead on this pocket and mark 8 inches and then come down by 12 inches or 11 inches. Now the reason why I'm using 8 inches is because the 2.5 inches will be on the sides that are not notched, so I can use it as my sewing allowance. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and cut my pockets. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut the facing for the front and for the back. Now, if you don't want to use the facing, you can go ahead and use a bias to just turn in the necklines. But usually I love working with facing because it gives me a neat finish. Okay. So for now, we are done with the cutting of the main dress. So the next thing we're going to do is just fix up the pockets, put the facing on the back, and then try and sew up the zip. So here I'm just going to be sewing my pockets on all parts of my fabric. So when that is done, I would go ahead and fix up my back zip. Now, while fixing up this zip, I did a back snatch. Okay, so that the back of this zip will not bulge. So you can go in from your back by 1/2 inch all the way up from your back waist. Okay, then when that is done, I want to work on my front bodies now. So the first thing I'm going to do on my front bodies is that I'm going to be joining the front. I'm going to be joining the front all the way down. So that's going to be me joining my 1 inch or 1.5 inch of allowance all the way down. Next I'm going to be doing is cut out my lace patch. Now this is the main thing on this dress, so let us get to it. So now I'm going to place my lace and then cut out these front parts. I will just create like a facing for the front chest. Okay, so from my shoulder all the way down to my bust, I'm going to create like a facing for it. So when I'm done cutting that out, I'll now take my lace and place on top my Ankara fabric. Now, when I placed it, I went ahead to deepen it some more, but now I'm going to be coming down by either 6 inches or 5.5 inches or 7 inches. Depends on how deep you want your V to come in. Okay, so I think I ended up using about 6 inches here. Okay, so it depends on how deep you want your V to come in, but for me this is really fine. I'm okay with this. Yeah, so when this is done, I will just go ahead and place it to see what it looks like. Now I'm very okay with this shape. Yeah, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is that I'm going to iron it just so that it will be flat on this surface. Yes, and when that is done, I will take the front part. It has a slit. I will take the front part and then use my hemming gum to just hold it down. That's because I don't want to run a stitch on it. Okay, so I will just hold it all the way down with my iron. Okay, so when that is done, this is what it should look like. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing right here is that I'm going to be cutting my sleeves for this dress. Now this is should I say a bell sleeves or a flare sleeves, but it is not a full flare sleeves. Like, I went ahead to fold this fabric into 4 parts. That is your 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like when you are folding for a skirt, okay? Then I went ahead to mark 18 inches round. Just like when you're folding and cutting out a peplum, I went ahead to mark 18 inches round. And then after marking my 18 inches round, I connected all of the lines, all the curves I got. Doing this, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to connect it all together, then create my armpit curve. So you can now go ahead and create your arm side. Remember that I'm working with my customer's arm side, okay? So when you've measured your customer's armpits, like the wideness of her arm side, so you go ahead and put it up there, just like you're doing your normal sleeve pattern, okay? So that's what I did on this sleeves pattern, and yeah, it came out really beautiful. Yeah, so if you've gotten to this point, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it will mean a lot to me, okay? So I went ahead to open up the sides of these sleeves. Yes, because I'm going to be joining it myself. So I went ahead to open up the sides of the sleeves. And so this is what we have here. This is what we have here. It's going to actually flow and drop, and this dress wasn't actually lined or padded, so if not, the effect would have been more. So now back to this part of the dress. After all of that is done, the next thing we are going to do is that we are going to now sew in our velvet bias. Yeah. So after confirming that my velvet bias was placed and has been matched well, I'll just go ahead and place it and then run my stitch on it. So I'll start from this other side. I'm starting from my left to connect all the way to the middle. Connecting from my left to the middle. Don't forget, I'm connecting from my left to the middle. Now you can actually start from your right. Depends on how comfortable you are with whichever side, okay? But for me, I just started with my left to the middle. And yeah, I was really comfortable with this. And then I cut that off. You see that I left a little allowance, like very, very little, less than, let's say 0.25. And then I'm going to be connecting from this other way to... I'm going to be connecting from my right now to meet this. So now I'm going to close up that little allowance I left, okay? Now I've left another little allowance on this one. I think this is up to 0.4 inches. So while I'm now closing it up all the way, starting from now the right, I would fold the little allowance I have in. Make sure that everything is flat there. Yeah, so I'll make sure everything is flat there. Then I will close it all the way to this other part, like so. Okay, now that is all done. So now you can actually use it this way if you want. You see the V is actually forming a nice V shape. Okay, so you can use it this way if you want, or you can go ahead and complete the design of the dress. So I'm going to just go ahead and mark out this middle. I ironed it out so that I'll have that line showing very bold. Then I'll go ahead and pin my bias all the way down. I'll just have to hold it. Now you're going to make sure that your bias you're placing is also from the middle. Okay, so when you are placing your bias, make sure that you're also placing it from the middle. So when you place it, you pin it all the way down, all the way down. Okay, now I'm going to be specifically showing you what the slitted part looks like. Now I'll pin it to the middle. Then when I get to the slitted part, I'll tilt it towards the one leg of the slit. Okay, I'll slit it towards one leg of the slit. Make sure that your middle point looks like it gets so exact, but when you get very close to the slit, you now push the leg of the velvet towards one leg of the slit. Okay, hope we are following. Okay, and now when all of this is done, the next thing you're going to do is just to sew it all round. And when you sew, you join the whole parts of your dress, turn your neck facing, fix up your sleeves, and then you should have your dress good to go. Yes, so this is my back. Now I'm going to be placing it to the front. Remember I told you that I joined it by 1 inch on the side. I joined it by 1 inch on the side, but I made the waist a bit free because of my pocket, so that she can be free to put her hand into the pocket. But this dress is not a big kaftan dress. It is a fitted kaftan dress, okay? Or let's say a shift dress. So this is the finished look. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a thing or two, because that is the whole essence. That's the whole point of this video. See you on my next video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I love you and bye.